You Attract What You Are, Manifestation, Midlife, and the Moral Economy of Control. A Sacred and Skeptical Essay in the Modern Gurus series by Jennifer Irene Stewart. There was a moment, quiet, almost unremarkable, when I realized I could not keep pretending. It wasn't at a dramatic retreat. It wasn't during an argument. It wasn't in front of an audience. It was late. The house was still. I was staring at my website, at language I had written, courses I had taken, certifications I had earned, all built around the promise that your thoughts create your reality. I had taught it. I had woven it into my work. I had invested time, money, credibility. And something in my body felt tight, not uncertain, not confused, tight. Because underneath the polished language about vibration and alignment, I knew something I did not want to admit. If this framework were fully true, then much of what had happened in my life would have been my fault. Not just my choices, my fault. That night, I began deleting certifications, language, entire pages, then my entire website. It felt like dismantling a structure I had carefully built. It also felt like exhaling. If you have ever built part of your identity around an idea, if you have ever invested money, time, credibility, and then felt the quiet tremor of, I don't think this is true anymore, you know how destabilizing that moment is. This essay is not about exposing individuals. It is about examining a system, one I entered willingly, benefited from, and ultimately stepped away from. Because the phrase, you attract what you are, is not just an affirmation. It is a worldview. And when a worldview becomes a global industry, we need to understand its architecture, not to accuse, but to comprehend. The promise of total control. At the heart of manifestation culture is a simple proposition. Your inner state determines your outer reality. Teachers such as Abraham Hicks and Joe Dispenza popularized the idea that thought, emotion, and frequency shape material outcomes. The claim is elegant. It reduces complexity to alignment. If life feels chaotic, the solution is internal adjustment. If outcomes disappoint, the explanation is vibrational mismatch. If suffering persists, the work is to think better, feel better, believe more. In a world that is unstable and often unjust, this promise feels stabilizing. It restores agency, and agency is psychologically powerful. But there is a difference between agency and omnipotence. Manifestation culture often blurs that line, and if you are honest, if you really let yourself be honest, hasn't there been a moment where you thought, if I can just get my mindset right, I won't have to feel this anymore? That thought is understandable. It is human, but it deserves examination. Why it lands so deeply in midlife. By midlife, many women are exhausted, myself included. We have been caretakers, professionals, stabilizers, mediators. We have endured silently. Many of us were raised to suppress distress, push forward, don't complain, don't be dramatic, don't burden anyone. Trauma was minimized. Therapy was framed as weakness. Emotional literacy was optional. You learned to function. You learned to perform competence. You learned to suppress, until suppression stopped working. Midlife often becomes the reckoning. Hormones shift. The body protests. Old grief resurfaces. The strategy of just handle it begins to crack. And when your primary coping mechanism collapses, simplicity feels merciful. Manifestation offers simplicity. If your thoughts create your life, relief is accessible. No excavation required, no systemic critique required, no confrontation with randomness required, just alignment. I understand that appeal intimately. I was looking for light in the dark. The kernel of truth. and the leap beyond it. To analyze this fairly, we must separate psychology from metaphysics. There is evidence that gratitude practices improve mood regulation. Optimism correlates with resilience. Visualization enhances performance when paired with effort. If you expect opportunity, you are more likely to notice it. That is attentional bias, not cosmic law. But manifestation culture often expands this kernel into universal causation. From your mindset influences your behavior to your vibration dictates your circumstances. That leap changes everything, because once internal state becomes causal for all outcomes, suffering becomes moralized. And I want you to pause with me here, because this is the part that matters most. If you have ever blamed yourself for something that was done to you, this framework can quietly reinforce that blame. The moral mathematics of manifestation. You attract what you are is not neutral. It carries moral weight. If you are abundant, you are aligned. If you are struggling, you are misaligned. Every belief system must account for failure. Manifestation culture does so by internalizing it. If you did not manifest what you wanted, you harbored limiting beliefs, you had subconscious blocks, you were vibrating scarcity, you were operating from ego. The mechanism remains perfect. Only the participant falls short. This makes the system durable. It is unfalsifiable. If it works, the law is confirmed. If it fails, you require deeper alignment. Either way, the framework survives. And this is where we have to get honest. Because when an idea becomes a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem, incentives shape messaging. The economic engine. Manifestation is not just philosophy. It is industry. The broader self-development market generates tens of billions of dollars annually through books, online programs, retreats, coaching certifications, digital memberships, live events. Manifestation occupies a particularly profitable niche because it promises total transformation, and it scales effortlessly. A teacher can sell introductory courses, advanced certifications, master practitioner programs, elite masterminds, application-only inner circles. Each tier implies deeper alignment. Financial investment becomes evidence of commitment. And if manifestation has not worked yet, you are not embodied deeply enough, which justifies further investment. This is not necessarily malicious, but it is structurally powerful. When revenue depends on continued belief in universal causation, doubt becomes economically inconvenient. I'm not saying this as an outsider. I was in it. I believed it. I could have profited from it. Coaching packages, digital courses, certifying others. The pathway was clear. Leaving was not just philosophical, it was financial. The shame engine. The longer you stay, the more identity fuses with belief. You become the high-vibe woman, the aligned leader, the conscious creator. Your brand reflects it. Your friendships reflect it. Your income may depend on it. So when doubt arises, it threatens more than an idea. It threatens belonging. Admitting it doesn't work feels like personal failure, which deepens shame. And shame is adhesive. It keeps you inside long after cognitive dissonance appears, because leaving means saying, I was wrong. And in communities where questioning is reframed as resistance, that is destabilizing. When I stepped away, I lost people. Not dramatically, quietly, but the loss was real. Trauma bypass. Manifestation culture often encourages transcendence instead of processing. Raise your vibration. Focus forward. Think better thoughts. But unresolved trauma does not dissolve through affirmation. It resurfaces. And when it does, shame intensifies. Because now you are not only wounded, you are misaligned. I refused therapy for decades. I believed endurance was strength, and I know some of you are still there, white-knuckling it, calling endurance resilience. Therapy felt like failure. Manifestation felt like empowerment. But therapy did not blame me for what happened. It helped me metabolize it. That difference is enormous. Randomness and limits. There is a difficult truth here. Life contains randomness. Some events are chaotic. Some are unjust. Some are cruel. Not karmic. Not vibrational. Not pedagogical. Just real. Let me say this clearly. You did not manifest your trauma. Let me say that again. You did not manifest your trauma. You did not vibrate your way into every hardship. Some things were never yours to carry. Acknowledging randomness does not remove agency. It restores proportion. Agency means you influence your response. Omnipotence means you control outcomes. Midlife invites agency, not omnipotence. What remains useful? Gratitude can stabilize attention. Optimism can increase persistence. Visualization can clarify goals. But none of these replace skill building, therapy, boundaries, effort, structural awareness. Positive thinking may help you see opportunity. You still have to act. And sometimes, despite action, outcomes disappoint. That does not mean you failed spiritually. It means you are human. A more mature spirituality. Midlife offers evidence. We know virtue does not guarantee reward. We know positivity does not inoculate against loss. We know effort does not eliminate randomness. This knowledge can feel disillusioning, but it can also feel steady, because it frees you from the exhausting belief that you must control everything. If this is unsettling to hear, that's okay. Systems that promise control are comforting. Letting go of them can feel like stepping into open air, but open air is breathable. A sacred reframe. Instead of, you attract what you are, perhaps, you influence what you pursue. You notice what you focus on. You shape how you respond. That is powerful enough. You do not need to be the architect of the cosmos to live meaningfully. You can cultivate hope without denial. You can pursue prosperity without blaming yourself for hardship. You can believe your thoughts matter without believing they dictate the universe. Permission to rest. And now I want to speak directly. If you are in midlife right now, tired of carrying everything, tired of trying to vibrate your way into safety, you are allowed to rest from that. You are allowed to stop auditing your thoughts for cosmic mistakes. You are allowed to seek therapy without shame. You are allowed to admit that some things were unfair. You are allowed to release the burden of universal responsibility. You are not here to control the universe. You are here to live within it, fully, imperfectly, courageously, and that is enough. Discernment is quieter than manifestation, but it is steadier. It does not sparkle. It stabilizes. And in midlife, stability is sacred, not because it promises perfection, but because it tells the truth. And truth, unblaming, grounded, humane, is where real freedom begins. In closing, if this episode stirred something in you, discomfort, recognition, resistance, relief, that's worth noticing. The purpose of this series is not to expose individuals. It's not to mock belief. It's not to tell you what you should or shouldn't follow. It's to examine systems, to slow down the mechanisms that shape influence, to look at incentives, language, authority, and identity, so that participation becomes conscious rather than automatic. Intelligent, sincere people enter these spaces every day. I did. Many of the promises are appealing for very real reasons. They meet real needs. They offer hope in vulnerable moments, and sometimes they help. But discernment asks a deeper question. What is being promised? What happens when it doesn't work? Who benefits? And what does it cost to stay? You are allowed to admire someone and still examine their system. You are allowed to gain value from something and still critique its structure. You are allowed to change your mind. If there is one thing I hope you take from this series, it's this. Clarity is not cynicism. Skepticism is not bitterness. And questioning is not negativity. It is adulthood. It is sovereignty. It is the quiet power of thinking for yourself. Thank you for being willing to look closely. We'll continue next time.